Today we are driving the Zeekr 7X, one of the most promising new EV SUVs. And the question is, can it crush the traditional car manufacturers? For example, with it charging 10 to 80% in 10 minutes. More interesting facts to come with this vehicle here. What batteries do they offer and so on. And how good is the driving actually? Is it more about the facts and numbers? Or can they really deliver also in the hard facts on the road? We'll find out. Here with Thomas and Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Zeekr 7X with a very clean, closed look here in the front. The light strip goes all the way through from this daytime running light. So yeah, this is a, let's say in a way typical EV design, but I think the design works very well. And then the headlamp unit underneath, but I think it's way integrated in that one. This here, the so-called Privilege trim, is the high trim level. These are also the biggest 21-inch wheels here with contrasting brake calipers, only available in the Privilege trim. You also get 19 or 20-inch wheels in the other trim levels. The length here is 4.79 meters or 189 inches. So it's in this typical EV SUV segment where most cars are being sold. For example, also the Tesla Model Y. You can get a contrasting roof here in black, for example, here today in our silver color. And you have either a rear-wheel drive model as an entry or an all-wheel drive model. We have the all-wheel drive model here for you today. And then the acceleration figure is at 3.8 seconds. So really quick indeed. And battery sizes, you start with a smaller LFP battery. They call it golden battery because it's their internal battery. That is also the one that can charge so quickly. 10 minutes is possible, and this battery there is 75 kilowatt hours gross, so about 72 kilowatt hours net. And then there's a bigger NMC battery, 100 kilowatt hours gross, it's about 96 kilowatt hours net. And the latter battery will charge in about 16 minutes, but it's more about, do you have the charger that is quick enough to cope with this vehicle? And here in the rear, you can see once again this light strip going through. Also, once again, a very clean design. Zeekr has a European headquarter as well, so they try to be as European as possible, both from design and also from the build quality and so on. Charging flipper, by the way, on the driver's side is also electric, and what's also interesting is that it comes with 22 kilowatt AC charging. That's of course also a very helpful thing. Pressing a button, then also close again. Top speed, by the way, is 210 kilometers an hour or 130 miles per hour, so that will also be suitable for the German Autobahn. This is the key fob here in this very light, small design, squircle alike. And then here you can also press it here on the key fob, and then it opens the frunk. Pretty cool actually, you can directly open it from the key fob. Nice installation. It's not a big one, but maybe a small charging cable does fit in there. And yeah, the good thing is that you can really easily open that and don't have to do another unlock mechanism or something. Before we get to the interior details, it's Leah's part here. We're showing you a special feature because you can close the automatic doors with a press on the brake. There we go. Yeah, works very nicely. And we know this feature, Tesla has been introducing that. There we go. BMW also followed with the i7. And now also in the Zeekr 7X. And the door closing sound when you close it manually, yeah, I mean, still somewhat okay. Now it's my turn here with the key fob. That's how it's looking like. And usually when you open or close the vehicle, these door handles would come towards you. If you don't have the automatic... Only the mirror. Yeah, it's only the mirror that goes in and out. It's nice that it's also like this frameless mirror style. And there are different features. For example, then here, press this button to open it. Then, as Leah showed, you can either hit the brake to close it again, or you can hit this button here. Then it also closes. But then the thing is, like, if you want to do it manually, then you're of course working against the electric motors, and it's kind of weird to move it. So I'm honestly a fan of just manual doors. This is over-engineering, I think. Here, by the way, interesting, inside of the doors you have this small cubby hole. The lower door still is not covered here from the inside though, but a rubber pad on the lower floor, at least here inside. And then also some nice stitching on the lower part, so this is cool. And also here, really high-class window levers with clicking sounds and so on. Yeah, Andrew Sill badge here, so also looks quite cool. And yeah, it makes a good quality impression from the first sight already. Here with 189, 6'2", still some headroom left. This is here a fixed panoramic roof. We can apply a manual shade electrically. I can soon show it to you. A lot of seat controls, and look at that, like a Bentley style knurling here. The steering wheel, you can see you still have manual controls. For example, here for the volume. Also quite cool turning indicator. Here, like there's like a small structure on it, so really attention to detail. And also found something pretty cool. When you click through here, the instrument menu, you also get to a climate unit, and then you can actually use the scroll wheel at the steering wheel to change the temperature. So that's a cool integration. If you just heard some background noise, by the way, these were playing kids in the background, just that you know. So here now in the cockpit overview, it's actually really clean, 16-inch touchscreen, soon more deals to that. Then here also covered on the top dash, and here as well, that's nice to fold down. The glove box is here, smoothly dampened, and you have the separate button for that here, so you don't have to do it in the screen actually. 2 inductive charging pads, they are also ventilated, that's cool. Middle console here, nice quality. Slide this one open, a smooth process. Cup holders can be stored or brought out again. That's actually cool. And the structure inside, this is a split armrest, either like this or like this, so you can open it to both sides. This is actually where you can exactly put the key fob if you like. So that would work as well, and a lot of space here. And here, the position, you have the classic interface with the steering wheel and so on, then everything digitalized in the screen. Also the climate unit, I do prefer manual switches for that definitely, but at least everything is fast. Gotta say that this is one of the fastest screens. Look at that. I mean, also here this visualization of the car, where you can also activate some features like the front, also the top cover, windows, trunk and so on. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay integration is also there. Like here, for example, to open the trunk is here. Then here a manual volume job that can also be done from the passenger side. Here, when you press and hold the favorite button, then a menu pops up, and then you can switch between different functions of this button. The driver POV here on the left side, this by the way for the cruise control. Then the digital instruments look like this. Speed is right there. And then you also get a head-up display, at least here in the highest trim level. And the main infotainment unit, already took a glimpse of that here, how quick, how fast it is. These are all the vehicle settings. You can here switch between a dark and a bright mode. I usually prefer the dark mode, and you can also adjust the brightness. Here you can also set different driving settings, for example, and everything is really so quick, super quick. Yeah, it's crazy. Here seat massage is also available, for example. And this is the Zeekr app here, so you can also remotely control stuff. For example, when you're outside the vehicle, like sitting at home, you also want to preheat your seat. That is possible. Yeah, so actually quite cool. You can also here activate the climate before and so on. By the way, included here in the so-called advanced cockpit pack is the 21 speaker Zeekr sound system, and I gotta say it's really good. It's really good. So very crystal clear sound, and that's really impressive. Rear seats also very interesting. Here inside of the door, everything wrapped. It's also ambient light integration. At the moment it's too bright, but you can maybe see it on the inside very soon. And then here this is the automatic button to close the door from the inside as well. And then some rubber pad on the lower part of the door, but otherwise it's hard. But then again, it's like nicely stitched on the lower part. And here we have more controls. So first of all, this is here the window control, like this. And I can also raise the shade with that, but it doesn't work when the door is opened. I can soon show you on the other side with the closed door. And then here, these two, they do work already. This is here to put this seat here, the passenger seat, to the front. So if I'm going to enjoy like a taxi ride or something, and I want to push this one here as much forward as possible for this luxurious seating position. Let's see how far it does go on a maximum scale. That goes really wide. Look at that. Oh, wow. I mean, it's just like missing that I can have like the footrest to be folded here. That would be only thing missing probably. I mean, look at that. That is something, right?
The door opens very wide.
And the door opens very wide. Yeah, it's also, yeah, almost 90 degrees. It's ISOFIX here also on the outside of the rear seat. And then we have these lower controls like here, because we can change the angle of the seat electrically. So this is like another luxury feature, and also connected to this one here. So here's some space underneath, USB-C charging, USB-A charging, somewhat adaptive cup holders here. And then here on my side, I can show you when I'm driving, I'm still having a lot of legroom. So the usage of space here is really enormous, really good. And once again here also that you can see the difference when the seat is more upright or when it's more in the relaxed position. But even here in the upright position, yeah, still fits with the headroom 189, 602. At the moment here, the panoramic roof has the open shade. You can close the shade there as well. When I now also pull this lever here, I can put up the manual shade. Pretty cool. Jacket hanger here as well. And then here in the lower part, you have
this is nice. The Zeekr logo.
Oh, the Zeekr logo, like also like detail work here. And here also nice clicking sounds for this small storage unit. Look at that. I mean, the panoramic roof really goes till the end of the vehicle, so to speak. From there, I can also show you how does it look like when I close the shade. I think I'm gonna hold it. No, there we go. So there we go. Now you can see like how much it is and how much is closed. There we go. Oh, look at that. It's like so long. It needs like this 2 splits. Interesting. Yeah, because I mean it has to stay somewhere. Interesting. You know, I'm usually it's rolled. Not sure how that is working in the back there, but yeah, definitely a very impressive rear experience. And Leah has discovered another feature for you, and that is underneath the rear seat. Look at that. There are some more storage possibilities. You can pull these here out.
It's really cool, I think.
That's actually a nice idea,
Yeah.
definitely.
And here with the Zeekr logo.
It's also an imprinted logo, yeah. So what would you guys put there actually underneath the seat? Maybe like the emergency vests or something?
Dog
or
leash.
the dog leash, sure, why not? The Zeekr lettering is here, by the way, integrated behind the windscreen in the rear. It's very interesting. And the knob for the trunk or the boot is just right here underneath the rear view camera, like there. And we have 540 liters, but what does that actually mean? Then you can slide away this here. You see the trolley fits also vertically underneath. Then in the width we have here about 1.40 meters, a little bit wider than in the very front. Here underneath there is some space. You can also pull it up like this. It's a good solution here for the charging cable, for example. And then you can also like fold this one here a little bit like this. That works. And I see now. These are actually magnets. See, like here. Then it's holding like this. Oh, interesting solution.
Nice,
Definitely. That's interesting. To fold the seats, however, there is no remote unlock here. Quickly just here that showing that you can also lift up this one here, the second part. You can also take it out completely. That would be possible. The height then, the total height from the cover to here is 27 inches or it's like 69 centimeters. Could be higher than though if we put this one, and then the total height is about 34 inches or 86 centimeters. And now about the folding, as I said, either go around or, I mean, if you reach over like this here, that is also working. You have to push it a little bit, so yeah, not the most convenient solution, but it does work. There we go. And then everything folds flat. Ski hatch is also available. And then here, this is almost the full ruler, like 2 meters or 78 inches. So indeed, well usable. Sport mode. Woo! So that was 0 to 90 kilometers an hour. Yeah, 3.8 seconds is the acceleration to 100. Really powerful, instant, so to speak. Gotta say though that I don't have, let's say, like the best feeling for the car when accelerating.
Yeah,
so
steering was
was actually a little bit out of control. Gotta say that. You can also adjust the steering mode a little bit. Here, setting out also to sport to get a little bit more feedback, but it's a little bit steering through thin air, so you don't have the best feeling for it. And just yesterday I drove the 001, their estate, and there it was way better actually, the steering feel. At this moment I have set the regenerative braking to standard. You can also set it to strong. If I then lift my foot off the throttle, then I have even stronger braking, and I can also set a one pedal driving that really comes to a stop. So this is both possible actually. Yeah, now some more narrow corners here, and we can also put the dampening mode from sport to comfort. It's also possible. Of course, we have more comfort, then clearly you feel that directly. I mean, for the passenger, it's actually better when you have it in sport mode, that the car doesn't shake up too much. But even in the comfort mode, I feel that the air suspension is not set on the softest note, honestly. So, yeah, it's always a matter of preference, definitely. But the thing remains that it's not the most pleasant car to drive for the agile surrounding. But when you leave it a little bit calmer, drive a little bit slower, then everything comes together. So at lower speeds, the noise insulation is really good. Looking forward how it behaves soon on the motorway and so on. You know, also like the seating depth of the seats, very good, very nice. As I said, the fabric seats are even a little bit more comfortable, but the ergonomics is also good. And then the air suspension, and you just relax then in a way. And now we go to the off-road mode for some soft off-roading. So off-road mode actually pumps up the car for better ground clearance. That means it will get less comfortable because you have like reduced dampening in one direction, you know. So, and here the good thing is, of course, if you have air suspension when off-roading, it makes it still softer, although there are some bumps and potholes and everything. But at the same time, I increased the ground clearance to be a little bit safer than as for that. Yeah, I mean, as long as we don't have like really high obstacles, you can also deactivate the off-road mode and go in like normal driving and so on. That's fine. Here's some water as well. And then you feel it is actually a little bit more comfortable when it's in the normal height setting. But I mean, they also ask us to activate the off-road mode just to prevent any damages from the vehicles. Here now we have some ruts already forming. I like to, you know, like drive sand and stuff. That's what I love in off-roading, because it's really smooth. But here so far, car's giving us a nice feeling for that. You know, it's getting a little bit rougher. And for that, actually, the steering that is not that responsive for off-roading then, it's actually quite good. Cool thing always with the electric vehicles, the all-wheel drive is working really flawlessly. You know, you can finely dose your throttle. There's no slip on the wheels and so on. And these electric all-wheel drives are really so capable. So actually, when you have an electric vehicle, it is an advantage off-road driving. Now, motorway acceleration, 50 to 100. That's it. Oy, wee, wee, wee. Let's see about the noise insulation, and things so far so good. I mean, here at 120 kilometers an hour, 75 miles an hour, reasonably silent. I also want to check out here the cruise control. There we go. So you can either go for normal cruise control, and then you can also set the speed right here, or when you like press twice, then the LCC is activated. This one is also an active lane keeping assist. Twice, then LCC is activated, and let's see how is the car being kept in the lane actively. Is it hectic or is it smooth from the steering movement? Here, so far so good. See here, the motorway is bending a little bit. Also a smooth process indeed, that's cool. Let's see the automatic lane change. Lane change in progress. There we go. Yeah, nicely done. So that's actually pretty cool. So I can just say here, driving on the motorway gives me a very, very good feeling of the vehicle overall. And of course it will be even more interesting what we can score as the final consumption. So what about the consumption here on our testing route with a lot of autobahn, a lot of motorway share, but speeds to maximum about 120 kilometers an hour, 75 miles an hour, but also some city driving share, countryside driving share. Good temperatures around 19 degrees Celsius. And here we scored some around 22 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's what you did realize is that on the motorway, as soon as you go like 120 kilometers an hour, 75 miles an hour, or a little bit above that, then it goes really up more towards 23, towards 24 kilowatt hours and 1 kilometers. And that's something we've seen with a lot of other GD Corporation vehicles in general, of course with EVs, but especially here. So it will be way less efficient also at higher speeds on the motorway. We have to test it in Germany where we can legally also drive that. But here, let's say in most countries and in good climate conditions, then the real world range would be around then with this consumption here for this big battery at about 440 kilometers or some 265 miles, and then a little bit less accordingly, of course, for the smaller battery. As for pricing, that's also the real problem for the traditional manufacturers. As said, it starts 53,000 euros. And when you go full spec, all-wheel drive, bigger battery, privilege trim, they offer it at the moment for 63,000 euros. For example, the Dutch pricing, so in the Netherlands. And that's of course a problem, because a comparable vehicle from the Germans, for example, would be probably double the price, you know, with all the spec and so on. There are still some differences, and the German cars are still doing stuff very, very well, and they still have their fans, and they're still very good cars, you know. But the problem is that here from the Chinese manufacturer, they can produce in a way cheaper way actually. And you know, Geely, the mother corporation where also Volvo belongs to, Zeekr is one of the other brands, Lynk & Co is another brand. And they also use economies of scale like the other traditional groups and so on. Yeah, so gotta say that especially like this price-performance ratio is really astonishing with this vehicle here. Although there are still some things maybe where they're not top of the game. If they here can offer such a vehicle with this build quality at that pricing, I would wish for animal-free seats also in the higher trim. It's only possible with the core trim, but these fabric seats are also really good. So definitely also something to consider. And in Europe, they start with some markets first, like Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, where they are really, you know, keen on electric vehicles. And then they're thinking about expanding to other markets. But since the European Union has also put tariffs on Chinese imported vehicles, it's also been a little bit trickier, so they roll out to other markets. What do you think about here, the Zeekr 7X? Tell me in the comments, and also check out the competition.